Black Hawk helicopter pilot, senior geopolitical strategist, and former Army Lieutenant Colonel Darren Gobb, and Senate Chairman of the National Iranian Congress and author of Comrade Ayatollah. That's Amir Fakhrāvar. So obviously a lot happening right now. You know, Iran retaliates against the missile strikes by Israel. No surprise there. It was just a matter of when that was going to happen. It does look like, though, one struck central Tel Aviv. I mean, it's nearly impossible to be perfect, but the Iron Dome has been pretty darn good so far. 15 people wounded, apparently. They are in decent condition. Darren, what's your reaction right now? I mean, I hated to put it in like tennis terms, but it's a serve and volley right now, you know, and who knows what the next step is going to be.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's really no other way to describe it, but it's one thing that stands out to me as a stark contrast is what the IDF, Israel in general, and Mossad did specifically, both in Iran and from Israel, shows that Israel has mastered the art, really, of multi-dimensional warfare, and they're such experts at it. You know, they're attacking Tehran with drones from next to Tehran that they put in there a long time ago. Iran remains one-dimensional, and that's always been one of their challenges. It's relatively easy to defend against a nation who only can attack largely in one way, through the air by ballistic missiles and drones. Doesn't mean you can't overwhelm the system. Doesn't mean things aren't going to get through and then, of course, hopefully not do any damage or create casualties. But you're seeing a huge difference between how the two nations are capable of waging war.
Amir, Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that that Israel last night acted alone. Iran doesn't think so. They think that the U.S. gave permission and maybe even coordination. We obviously see today that the United States apparently is helping with defending Israel. The Times of Israel published this report today saying that the U.S. participated in a massive campaign to lull Iran into believing no attack was imminent. What kind of involvement do you think the United States had so far, and what do you think will be the next step as this phase of the war, or at least this attack, gets maybe even worse?
Thank you for having me first. And, we, the Iranian people, we are celebrating right now because we have been waiting for this moment for a long time, for 46 years. We have been waiting to see help come from the free world to, Iran's situation. We are under occupation. It's the feeling of Iranian people is exactly the feeling of the French people during the World War II. It's occupation, and we needed the help, and right now the help came from IDF. I was hoping this help could come from IDF and U.S. Air Force together, and still it's possible to see it. Still it's possible to see the B-2 bombers and B-52 bombers. The Iranian people, for months, we are waiting to see that. And But the case is, look at the situation. Tehran, the capital city of Iran, has almost 17 million, the Tehran metropolitan, has the 17 million people there. And how sophisticated the Mossad people could take out the handful of IRGC, the top-rated IRGC commanders in this very populated area and not hurt any other people. That was amazing. That's the best in history I have ever seen. And look at Iran. Right now, they're just sending some Chinese missiles. Their policy is use it or lose it. Just sending them, and it doesn't matter if the civilians are getting killed or who, just they want to shoot these missiles. And hopefully, President Trump's administration, which Iranian people, we really love President Trump. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is our hero. And hopefully President Trump will close down the file of negotiation with this barbaric regime of mullahs in Iran and come to the same page with Benjamin Netanyahu to help as much as possible to get rid of this regime as fast as possible, and then the free Iran will be friend with Israel and United States again.
Darren, you know, it's amazing. Israel really and literally had a target on specific people, and with very little collateral damage, they hit their targets yesterday. Psychologically, that's got to play on the Ayatollah and others in Iran right now.
It does, and it's been playing on them for a while, ever since the Pager Wars. Israel and Mossad and their forces, again, have shown the ability to reach out and touch these specific people that they are aiming for. So if you're a comedy, you're probably going to go way underground for a very long period of time, because they know full well that their locations are known by people who are going to be out to get them if they so chose to. That has been impressive. Assad continues to show the world why they are considered the premier force of its kind. Its spy agency and everything else that it does is superior to really any nation on earth. So as this war progresses, I suspect you're going to continue to see Israel show much of the world how to make pretty much the national leadership ineffective of another nation without actually harming the population extensively, or hopefully at all, of Iran. Because frankly, the Persian people, the Iranian people, deserve to live free again, free from their dictators, and return back to what Iran looked like back in more like 1978, which I think we should all love to see again, and I hope we do.
So, I mean, it's a lot harder to have, you know, peace talks and negotiations for arms deals when bombs are dropping right now. But the nuclear talks were scheduled to take place on Sunday. Iran has pulled out indefinitely. President Trump has said, hey, Iran, you still got time to make a deal. He wrote on Truth Social that 2 months ago, I gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum to make a deal. They should have done it. Today is 61. I told them what to do, but they just couldn't get there. Now they have perhaps a second chance. Amir, do you think that the door for diplomacy is kind of closed now that they're both kind of lobbing missiles?
You know, I love this message of President Trump. And yes, Mr. President, this is the day 61. The ultimatum is gone. As Prime Minister Netanyahu said 2 months ago, they wanted to do that. The IDF wanted to do exactly the same attack. And but they waited. They showed respect to President Trump. President asked 60 days. It's over. Let's close down the negotiation. Who they are negotiating with? Mr. President, the people are coming across the table to negotiation are the same people who tortured me and my classmate 20 years ago in Iran for 5 years. They broke 50 bones in my body. They killed many of my classmates. And just last year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago in Iran, they mass murdering the people, the kids in the street. In 2 days, we had 1,500 kids killed in the street by IRGC in Tehran and the big cities in Iran. You know what? You cannot negotiate with terrorists. That was the official policy of the United States. Right now, Iranian regime, the Iranian mullahs, they have less than 1% of support of the population. 90 million Iranians inside the country, 10 million Iranians in exile. We all fighting against this regime. Mr. President, please don't talk with this regime anymore and help the Iranian opposition. We can be the greatest allies ever to United States and Israel to bring down this regime and bring up the free and democratic government who can be friend again and be part of free world.
So just looking at the Democratic response right now, or so far, a lot of crickets. You have the Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, Jewish, from New York, and nothing yet. But one guy who wanted to be vice president, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, he was asked about his thoughts on Israel's attack on Iran. Here's his response.
Iran has to retaliate in their mind, I'm sure. And now who is the voice in the world that can negotiate some type of agreement in this. Who holds the moral authority? Who holds the ability to do that? Because we are not seen as a neutral actor, and we maybe never were. Consistently over and over again, we're going to have to face the reality it might be the Chinese.
Okay, let that sink in for 1 second. This was a guy who could have been vice president and potentially president of the United States who says we have no moral authority. It's China, Darren, that has the moral authority maybe to bring peace here.
I suspect it might be a great place for him to move to because he seems to fit in better there than he does here. And thank God he is not our vice president, because this would be an entirely different scenario. And it's shameful to see folks like him speaking out like that. We can debate behind closed doors. We can have healthy discussions about how we should do something, why we should do something. But to just stand up and say that America has lost its moral authority in its entirety, but think that the comparison is the Chinese Communist Party, just shows you how much he sold his soul. And by the way, China, who gets their oil from Iran, I wonder where they would fall in all this anyways.
Yeah. Methinks the guy speaks for the Democratic Party, because it's been pretty silent, and he's the guy saying it all. Darren Gobb, Amir Fakhrāvar, it's good to have you guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rob.